Brother Teacher here. This is perhaps a sensitive subject to some in a certain clan, if you will, but it is something that needs to be addressed anyway. I see it as something that needs to be addressed, and that is the Gracie Ju-jitsu fame. Let me say this. I'm not being paid for this video. I stand to gain nothing from this video. And I'm speaking as a martial artist who is nearing 50 years of experience. And that 50 years of experience spans the age of most of the Gracies that we are familiar with. Notwithstanding, of course, the father and the grandfather of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu system. I'm talking about the sons, and I'm talking about the cousins and the nephews and anyone else that is a Gracie. I far out age, if you will, many of them as it relates to martial arts. Now, that's not tooting a horn. I'm just making a reference as it relates to martial arts and age. So I'm saying this to say, throughout my life and my studies and training and teaching in martial arts, I was part of what was considered mixed martial arts many years before there ever was a MMA, as it were, today under Dana White, for the most part, and the Gracie brothers, the Gracie family. I'm not attacking the Gracie family, but I am going to say something that could be inflammatory because it is the truth. And oftentimes people have a problem with the truth. It is because they have something to hide, number one. And number two, oftentimes they're benefiting from the lie, and it just sometimes just needs to be brought out to the surface. I know there's a lot of people who are followers of the Gracies. There are a lot of people who have followed the Gracies who had their own following, or who have pursued other martial arts styles and or systems prior to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fame. And today they are studying and training under the Gracies. And I think it's, in a sense, not all of them, but some of them. I think for some of them, in a sense, it's a coward move to study Gracie Jiu-Jitsu because they found that it was probably nothing that could compare to it, and that is totally a lie. I'm here in defense. I'm speaking in defense of traditional martial arts systems and styles that's been around way before the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fame had ever come into existence. Now, let me say this. All anyone can do that's watching this video right now is to research for yourself. I'm not going to sit up here and start going from back in prehistoric times and going back from Africa to Brazil and to China and down to Okinawa and back to Japan and America as far as the lineage of martial arts is concerned, because I could do that. But that's not my purpose, and it would be too much information. But if there's anything that I'm saying that you would like to follow up on, you can do that in your own leisure. But just speaking in general, Jiu-Jitsu existed before the Gracie family ever lived on this planet. It already existed. Now, a punch is a punch and a kick is a kick, no matter where you are placed on the planet. I don't care if you're in Africa, in the darkest jungles of Africa. I don't care if you're in Europe. I don't care if you're in North America. I don't care if you're in East Asia. A front kick is a front kick. A straight punch or four fist strike, if you will, and a knife hand is the same. To say, and I say this to my shame because I have my own system, but to say that you have created something that no other man has done in these modern day times is absolutely ludicrous. Now, I know oftentimes men want to attach their name to things, but they're not actually the founder. That's like someone coming to you saying, I just discovered fire. I created fire. No, you didn't create fire. You may have discovered it yourself and may have not been aware of how it came into existence and how to make it something that's realized in your life, but you did not create it. It's always been on the earth since the beginning of time. So I just use that rough example to say this. The Gracie family did not create Jiu-Jitsu. They attached their name to Jiu-Jitsu, and what they did was they glorified the ground aspect of Jiu-Jitsu. RYU is the word called Ru. In Japan, there were many rules or schools of martial arts, basically families of martial arts. And many of these rules, RYU again, or schools or families of martial arts specialized, I'm speaking of Jiu-Jitsu right now, they specialize in various aspects of fighting. Some specialize in grappling. Some specialize in striking. Some specialize in pressure points. Some specialize in weaponry. Some specialize in poisons as it relates to fighting and combat. Some of them merged throughout time, and they combined and they shared techniques amongst rules or families. What the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu family did was they took an opportunity to compare their art to American martial artists. It is not that American martial artists didn't have valid teaching. It is not that they did not have maybe adequate teaching. It is not that they were not good at their own craft. It was simply a matter of timing for the Gracies. And it was simply a matter of the fact that most American martial artists were not strong in grappling. They were not strong in the ground game. Now, there are many arts, there are many martial artists, there were many martial artists during the time that the Gracies surfaced. There were many in existence at that time that could have really given the Gracies a challenge. But one of the things that we learned a long time ago, and I learned this as a child in the martial arts, was humility. What is your purpose? Why would I go and accept a challenge in a public forum from another martial artist to prove that I was better than that individual? But the Gracies knew about the ego of American people. They knew about the ego and the pride, if you will, of American martial artists. And they felt like if we spend so many hours of mat time, ground time, all we have to do is challenge the American martial artists who don't spend that time or as much time on the mat as we do. All we have to do is tell them that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is better than any other martial arts. It's the best. And we're going to get some challenges or some people to accept our challenge. And that is why the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fame is what it is today. They became millionaires. They were able to open many, many schools across the United States and even overseas because of that challenge to American fighters. It became a day of profit. Now, the whole premise behind this video that I'm displaying to you today is to show you, hopefully, that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is limited. If you look at any training video of the Gracies, if you look at any martial arts program on television, on cable, where it's hosted by the Gracies, everything that they do is based on competition. It's based on someone who has an aspiration or a desire to participate in the UFC or in mixed martial arts on a larger scale. It is not based on self-defense in the street. Now herein lies the problem, and herein lies the rub. If you're teaching legitimate martial arts, then why are you not teaching your students how to defend themselves in the street? I'll get to that more specifically in a moment. But why are you not teaching your students how to defend themselves in the street, and you're only promoting competition inside of an octagon? There is something sinister about this, something wrong. So why, brother teacher, are you saying that they're not teaching people what to do in the street from a self-defense standpoint? It's real simple. It's as simple as the nose on my face and your face. And herein lies the rub. Every time that you see a Gracie fighter, their principal goal is to take you to the ground. Their primary purpose, their primary objective is to take you to the ground. You cannot use that methodology in a street fight. If you are faced with more than one adversary in a street fight, and your mindset is to take someone to the ground, that's one street fight you're going to lose. Because everyone will not end up on the ground, as some proponents of the Gracie Ju-jitsu have said, that most fights end up on the ground, and that is not true. You have no recorded information that says that every fight ends up on the ground. Now, notwithstanding, that does not mean that someone will not fall on the ground, but they'll get back up. And oftentimes the person that they're fighting will allow them to get up. And it's mano a mano, standing up, fisticuffs. Now, that is not the case for every single fight, every single incident, because things change. But for the most part, you won't find guys on the street wrestling on the ground. It just doesn't happen. Now, I don't know what street fight or street scenario that any Gracie Jiu-Jitsu tactician would be talking about when everyone ends up on the ground, and 90% of the people or 99% of the people who are in the fight end up on the ground grappling. That's not true. Because if you were ever in a situation as a martial artist, as a true martial artist, you won't allow yourself to be on the ground. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to defend yourself on the ground, but that is not your mainstay. That is not something that you are priding yourselves on. If I get into a street fight, I'm taking the guy to the ground. That's ridiculous, because if there's more than one person there that's on that individual side, and you could stand to be jumped by that other person or two or three, and it happens all day long in America where gangs jump on one individual. Where's your Gracie Jiu-Jitsu then? Where's your ground game then? You don't have one. And the other thing, to further solidify this point on this issue, is that you never see the Gracies strike. There might be a strike to get a person to the ground. There might be a feint or a fake to get the individual to the ground. You never see a back fist. You never see a front kick. You never see a side kick. You never see an elbow. And I'm talking standing. You never see that. So, with that said, if you were in a confrontation and there's 3 people attacking you and you're by yourself and you can't escape the situation, your ground game is not going to defeat 3 or 4 individuals who are of equal or greater weight than you. It's not going to work. So, what point are you making now, brother teacher? It's real simple. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is overrated because it is not a complete martial art. If it were complete, they would be able to subdue an individual or more than one individual standing, as opposed to saying, let me get this opportunity to take that person to the ground. But you can't, again, take 2 or 3 people to the ground. So there's an inherent weakness right there. So my question now, before I close this video, how are you going to answer that question? Anyone studying and training in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, how are you going to answer the question that I just posed? What would you do in a multiple attack as a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu individual? You're going to take 3 or 4 people to the ground? I venture to say not. Where's your striking at? You see, the Gracies, they made their money, and that's what they really wanted to do. They want to inflate the family name. They want to indoctrinate the world into believing that they were the best thing since sliced bread. But they're lacking. I believe that every martial arts system that exists on this planet should be well-rounded. It should contain striking, formidable striking, not a striking that's just to set someone up for a ground technique or grappling, but it should contain striking, it should contain groundwork, if you will, strangulation holds, throws, and so forth, arm bars and locks and wrist locks and chokes, naked scarf holds, what have you, and pressure points. If you're lacking any of those aspects of your art is weak. It's that simple. And as you age, you most definitely will be relying on one of the 3. If you can't kick as well as you did as a young man, as I can't anymore because of arthritic condition, if you can't jump up in the air and do sweeps as you did once before, and if you can't go to the ground and do a whole lot of grappling, as it were, you better believe you need to know pressure points. It's that simple. Now, this video will probably incite some people to anger, but it's probably also going to open the minds and the eyes of individuals as to what jiu-jitsu really is. And I'm only talking about jiu-jitsu, and I say it again, jiu-jitsu was not created by the Gracies. They attached their name to the term jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu means gentle art, okay? Now, it is the predecessor of judo, but jiu-jitsu has many compartments, and the ground part of jiu-jitsu is only one aspect of jiu-jitsu. But if you only have ground, you're doing yourself a great disservice. Something's wrong. That's good for the octagon. It's good when you have judges and referees standing around that can break you up. But against someone who has the intent to harm you, even mortally, and is relentless in that intent and desire, and who has some formidable skill, I would venture to say that a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu individual is going to have a problem with that individual. They are. God forbid that they meet someone like that. And God forbid that anyone that's studying Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is in a situation where they're standing against 3 or 4 opponents by themselves without any striking experience, without any pressure point experience. Now, they've come into America, they've made their millions of dollars, they've made a name for themselves, and they have gotten a lot of popular martial artists to start studying under them. It's like it's a fad. These popular martial artists that studied under them, some of them studied under them because they found that there was a weakness in their own style. But these other martial artists could have studied another form of jiu-jitsu. It didn't have to be Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. It could have been Aikijitsu. many forms of jiu-jitsu that involve striking. But that was my ranting on about this particular subject. And just to conclude again, Gracie Ju-jitsu is limited. It is very limited in a street fight, and it actually is only viable inside the octagon. And by only being formidable inside the octagon is a disgrace to anyone who wants to learn self-defense. This is Brother Teacher. Please leave your comments in the comment section below, and I will be sure to get back with you. I'm out.